All right, and thanks for joining us on this rainy Friday for our end-of-the-week update on COVID-19 and its impact here in Orange County. The discussion this afternoon will include information on new testing sites in Orange County. Also, we'll talk about our progress on where we are with regard to economic recovery. Mayor Dyer will discuss the new normal that we find ourselves in here in Central Florida, and Dr. Pino will add details on those new testing sites and our coronavirus numbers. We'll get right to it with Orange County Mayor Jerry O. Demings, Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer, and of course Dr. Raul Pino, Director of the Florida Department of Health here in Orange County. Mayor Demings.
Thank you, Dr. Williamson, and thank you to all of you for being here again. We've come to the end of another week. It's been a lot of activity within our community, and here we are on a rainy Friday on a day where it's been a weather phenomenon. It's not lost on me that in just a week we will be preparing to enter another hurricane season. And so it is important that we do, at the very least, get our businesses and our hotels back up operational, because certainly we depend on the hotels as sheltering locations associated with evacuations from hurricanes and other types of such facilities. And so as I am reminded of that, and we find ourselves yet still wrestling with the COVID-19 pandemic within our community, we must keep our focus on staying safe and getting the community back in business. My goal is to make sure when Orange County reopens, it will be as smart and as safe as possible. We must prepare all of our businesses to be able to do so. Florida now has over 30,000 cases and over 1,000 deaths from the coronavirus. Orange County now has 1,286 cases of the coronavirus, and sadly, 29 individuals have died from the illness. But if there's any good news in that, within the last 24 hours, we had no new deaths here within Orange County from the virus. Our testing sites are increasing in number, and I believe that increased availability and testing is a key weapon in our fight against the virus. So far, in Orange County, 20,582 individuals have been tested for the virus. Again, 1,286 of them have tested positive in Orange County. Dr. Pino will share more information with you in just a few moments and has some, I believe, promising news, but I'll give you just a little bit of what I think is where we are today. Orange County residents have been heeding the call to self-quarantine. We are continuing to see a de-escalation of cases within our county. Our negative growth in cases is something we can all be proud of, or at least look forward to continuing to occur within our community. 4 weeks ago, and what we call week number 13 of the virus, Orange County had 273 new cases in that 1 week alone. But so far, this week, we've had 61 new cases. That's the prior weeks. That demonstrates the deceleration of the virus in our community, or the flattening of the curve that I know my friend and Dr. Pino will get into with you. This is also promising news because the Orange County Economic Recovery Task Force is looking into the safest and most sensible way to get our business community up and running with a phased approach. You can learn more by visiting OCFL/economic recovery, OCFL/economicrecovery.net. My goal is to ensure that there is an intersection of being safe and feeling safe before businesses reopen. Orange County's mobile testing sites for the Department of Health will continue for another week. I believe that testing is but one of those ways to ensure that there is that intersection of being safe and feeling safe. The locations are slightly different planned for next week than the ones we had this week. The testing sites are on different days, but next week the planned locations are West Orange Park, Apopka High School, Camping World Stadium, Barnett Park, and the J. Blanchard Park. The West Orange Park location was supposed to be operational today, but closed due to weather. It is planned to open on Monday. The Orange County Health Services Division is working on getting 2 additional sites set up in our hot zones, in particular in the 32822 and 32824 zip code areas for next week. We're just finalizing details this evening, and we'll make those announcements perhaps over the weekend or early next week. Let me share another bit of good news with you. Orange County government has received $243 million as a local allocation through the Coronavirus Relief Fund that was included in the CARES Act. A technical committee is being formed to evaluate eligible expenditures and provide recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. I want to take a moment to commend Orange County Public Schools for their, what I'm going to call, superhuman efforts to keep our children fed while they were out of school. Since the Grab and Go program started just over a month ago on March the 23rd, OCPS has distributed nearly 1.5 million meals and have fed just under 600,000 students. So to OCPS, I say job well done. And at this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Thank you, Mayor Demings, and good afternoon. Happy Friday. Earlier this week, I shared that we couldn't have economic health if we didn't have good public health. And I want to talk a little bit more about that today. Because of our collective commitment to stopping the spread, we've been able to protect ourselves and so many people in our community. We have actually taken control of this virus, but each of us has to continue to control our own actions if we're going to help further the control of the virus. If we rush in an effort to return to life as normal, we might lose control. And if we lose it, the public health of Orlando and Orange County residents can't be ensured. As a mayor, and I know Mayor Demings certainly agrees with this, our top priority is safety and the well-being of our residents. That's why the City of Orlando makes strong investments in our fire and our police departments. Public safety is our #1 priority, and that's why together with the county and our business partners, we're planning careful and measured steps for our community's economic path of recovery. And as we prepare for the end of the stay-at-home order, the City of Orlando is planning to continue to maintain our current work status, having many of our employees continuing to work remotely, as many as possible. We're providing our residents more than 300 services online, and because the majority of our services are accessed digitally, City Hall and our other city facilities will continue to remain closed to the public for a few more weeks. Our staff is currently working on determining specific health and safety measures that we'll need to put in place to ensure that our employees and the public are safe while working or visiting our facilities. And this is an approach to operations that will also be phased in over a period of time. We believe this approach is right and responsible thing to do for our employees and for our citizens. And just as city operations are preparing for a new normal, so should our businesses. I continue to be inspired by the innovation of our business owners. They've faced the challenge head on and quickly developed new models to stay in business even when being physically closed. And we know that they'll continue to innovate and rise to the challenge of safely operating their businesses in the new normal for their customers and their employees. I'm also pleased that we're furthering our partnership with the Department of Health in Orange County to do another round of mobile testing Wednesday, April 29th at Camping World Stadium. This week alone, the stadium was able to test 250 individuals who had appointments and an additional 115 that walked up to the site or biked up to the site. This has proven to be a great location for those residents that have not previously had access to testing. The testing is free, requires no criteria except being over 18, and Dr. Pino, I know, will give you the specifics. So the suffering in our community for our Orlando families and residents and neighbors and businesses and workers continues to be devastating right now. And that's why we're taking the necessary steps to create the type of measured, strategic formula that gets our community moving forward. And if we all follow that formula and control our actions, it's a formula that will ensure that we have a path of economic recovery and not going backwards. In that scenario, things will be different. And it'll be a new normal, but a safer, more economically viable normal. And it'll be a new normal where we know we must have public health to have good economic health. It must be a continued, committed, collected effort, and I know that it's something that we can achieve together as a community. Dr. Pino.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor mentioned before, we have a total of 1,286 positive cases, 6% positivity rate, 1% lower than when we talked to you on Wednesday. That's a 6%. And we have conducted over 20,000 tests in the county. It was a sad addition to the number of people who have died as a consequence of the virus. Our prayers and thoughts are with his family. A 93-year-old male with the exposure is not known to us yet and has some underlying health conditions. The person died on April 22nd. It always takes a few days to get these cases certified because they have to be certified by the medical examiner to be sure that things are the way that they thought to be. On the mobile testing updates, quite good news. On Monday and Tuesday, we conducted between the 2 days 378 tests in the community. There were only 4 positive cases out of that total. 3 of those cases were existing positive cases that came for a retest, and 1 case was only 1 new case out of the 378 cases, persons that we tested on Monday. So we are, although we're engaging in this community effort, we also consider this to be some type of sentinel testing because we are going out of our way to find these cases. And also, I would like to show you in the back is the epi curve for our pandemic in our county. And as you can see, and I have mentioned before, we have a fair peak. And I say first because we don't know what the future may bring and how we are going to continue to fare. But the county is faring very, very well. It looks like we have peaked 4 weeks ago, and that's when we first mentioned that we knew we were at a high point, and the cases have continued to decrease. It is safe to say that in the last 5 weeks, we have a sustained decrease in the number of cases. I'm going to give you some examples. And just for your information at home, when we say weeks in epidemiology, you go by the weeks of the year. And these are standardized ways across the world to do pandemic surveillance. So week 1 is the first week of the year. For example, in week 10, we have 13 cases, new cases. But in week 12, we have 250 cases that week. And week 13, we have 273 cases. And then in week 14, it decreased to 220, 15 to 173, week 16, 147, and this week up to this morning, 61 cases. As you can see, it has been a sustained decrease in the number of new cases that we are seeing in the county, which is good news. And it's a sustained decrease in pandemic that you would like to see before you even engage in a conversation about returning to what normal may be. And I think that we right now have the tools to watch the pandemic and be able to do good surveillance. I think we will move in a new phase. We actually are in that phase right now, and that's where we'll be responding to small outbreaks. When you get out of the wide community distribution, the next things to watch for us is small outbreaks, and have the ability to detect those outbreaks when they are happening and have the ability to respond and contain those outbreaks. That will be the new effort that we have to engage. How can we detect what is happening out in the community? And now we have the tools, electronically speaking, to do that. And also how quick can we respond and have the capacity to track, investigate, prevent, and test so that we prevent wider transmission into the community. And that's basically where we are engaging right now. As the number decreases and we continue to increase testing, we are also watching for small outbreaks. And what is the definition of an outbreak? Because everyone asks that question. An outbreak is more than 2 cases that you can link and establish there is a connection in the transmission, either to a place, either to an individual, either to an event, but they are connected in the transmission somehow. And we are watching for small outbreaks in the county. And we are right now, today, on top of those cases and testing and trying to contain wider spread, and I think we are going to be successful. With regard to mobile testing round 2, we will start on Monday because of the cancellation that we had today in West Orange Park. All the appointments that were done today will be honored on Monday, and people could call to make new appointments if they want to. Tuesday, we will be in Alpaca High School. Wednesday, we will be in Camping World Stadium, as Mayor Deming and Mayor Dyer announced. Thursday, we will be at Barnett Park, going back there. And then Friday, we will be back at Blanchard Park. We wanted to go there because it was our first park. We were not up to speed in the little glitches that we had, and you know all about it. But also because we wanted to go again and test that area where we didn't have any cases, even that we tested 150 people. So we would like to do it again. We will continue to test our county residents. Although we advise people to make appointments, we have taken walk-ins. People have come on bike, by foot, in scooters, and people have been very grateful of the effort that our mayors have done to provide this testing. I also want to really thank our mayors, our county, and the city of Orlando, our fire department for the county and the city of Orlando, as well as the sheriff office for our county and the police department for Orlando. Their help in setting up our events has been just absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Mayor?
Okay, we will open it up for questions, and as we normally do, we will take all the questions from whatever speaker is at the podium at the time, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Lauren Cervantes, WKMG News 6. Dr. Pino, I had 2 questions about mobile testing. The first one, you mentioned, I know you're going back to 3 of the same locations that you tested that first week, even despite having some few positive cases there. Why the decision to go back and test in those same locations, if you don't mind sharing with us?
No, so it has more to do with the heat map, the number of the cases in those areas, but also in the case of Apaca, for example, we haven't tested there, the health department. So the city is kind of tucked in a corner of the county. People tend not to travel between the two places often. So I think that would be necessary for us to take a look at there. One of the small outbreaks that we have in Zapoca is under control. We are watching it, but we would like to have this ability to do this sentinel testing in different portions of our community, so it should not be excluded. The other places that we are going back to, the first one is because that day it rained, we had the glitches in the phone system, and so we wanted to be sure that everyone that wanted to have the opportunity to get tested. And we will repeat the cycle. If we have enough supplies, our mayors consider that it's necessary, we will continue to do it, same locations, closer, or maybe even breaking our efforts into a smaller community centers or churches or health centers and be able to get in deeper into the community. Maybe if you saw what we do, it requires a space. Because the type of equipment that we have to take and the line of cars. So that limits our ability to go closer to where those individuals may be. That's the reason.
And then my last question, I know you had mentioned that one of the tests that were, three rather, that were positive, they were retests. How are the numbers given out each week? Is that number of people, or is that number of tests? Does that include like people who are retested? When we get the number of positive cases, could there be, people who have tested positive 3 times because they've been retested? Doesn't that skew the numbers a little?
Well, the system will alert us when it's a repeat test. These 3 individuals that I'm mentioning to you, they didn't disclose it to us when they came to the site. But we learn electronically because our system does cross-matching. It will highlight us, okay, this person is already in the system. Then you verify their birth and other information that we have, and you make the conclusion that it's the same person. So that person gets eliminated of the count. But yes, I wanted to give you that information. Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's Samantha Sosa with Fox 35. Mayor Demings, have you guys made any progress on deciding on some of those phases specifically for reopening? I see that Mayor Dyer has already decided to push back the opening of some city facilities. Any more specifics on you guys' end on how things will be reopening in phases?
In terms of the reopenings, there will be reopenings of public facilities, and as it relates to Orange County government, we have a committee of individuals that includes all of the constitutional offices, so that when there's reopened, facilities are owned by Orange County government, even though they may be occupied by the constitutional offices. So we want to have some consistency in what our internal facilities, if you will, look like when they reopen. But as it relates to the general public, the business community, that reopening and what it looks like will largely depend upon the recommendations of the Economic Recovery Committee, task force that we put in place. And their work has just begun. They are scheduled to meet again on Tuesday of next week, which should be after we receive some further guidance from the governor about the statewide reopening efforts. And then we will look for consistency there as we deal with our very unique experiences here within Orange County.
Hi, Eric Sandoval with News 6. I have a question for Dr. Pino really quickly. Number one, you mentioned you were monitoring 4 small outbreaks in Orange County. Can you tell us where those are?
There's one situation at the airport. There is one situation in Apaca. And we have a situation that we talk about in a convalescent home, a long-term care facility. We talk about that, and that's under control. I believe that makes 3, so I'm missing the 4th one.
You don't have it with you. And talking about testing, all of you went ahead and announced a new round of mobile testing next week. A couple weeks ago, you were talking about how hard it is to get those collection kits. Is it getting easier, or are you just scoring?
We are getting sleek. So we work a deal with a private lab that they will supply us with the collection kits at no cost to do this testing out in the community as long as we use their services. And that's what we are doing. They secure for us the first week, and they love the way that we do it, the operation, how it was done. So they promise that they will secure the next week. What are we using this particular lab? It's because it also speed the process and optimize it for us. Because we don't have to do any data entry, so less resources on us. And also, we like the fact that individuals can check their own status on an app, so we don't have to start calling negative people, but we concentrate in calling the people who are positive, which it will speed up our ability to intervene in any future outbreaks to contain.
So I just want to make sure that I'm getting this right. Where a few weeks ago you were depending on the state of Florida to provide you with testing kits, now you're going to a third party and just under a different agreement.
Yes, but I have also to say I received yesterday 2,000 test kits from the state government that will be used. We will talking to the county to also help. We want to increase our efforts in the homeless population. We have selected 5 assisted living facilities that are going to participate in universal testing for their residents. So we are engaging more and more in a specific targeting testing, and for that we are getting the state support.
Lauren Seabrook, Channel 9. This is for either mayors or both mayors. There was a meeting, I guess, with the police chiefs today, and there was some discussion about not wanting to be the social distancing police. They were concerned about being set up for lawsuits and things like that, and saying that if they do have to do that, they want very clear guidelines. Have you guys discussed guidelines as far as social distancing and mask enforcement to go along with the reopening, things that would maybe be required, whereas now they're just suggestions?
Well, as part of the Economic Recovery Task Force, we have law enforcement representation there. And as we reopen, we have to have all of those conversations about any type of regulatory mandates that will be put in place and whether or not they can be realistically enforced. And so I'm sensitive to that. Obviously, I spent nearly 4 decades as a law enforcement officer, so I'm very sensitive to the plight of our law enforcement officers here in this community. Our community can pride itself on knowing that the law enforcement executives, what they're saying is they do not want to be artificially put into a situation where it's a us against them type of a mentality or situation. And so we don't want to put them in that situation. However, I know that not one of them will be shy about enforcing the law. Okay. Do we have other questions? Here
I have one. I'm sorry, for Dr. Pino. Steve Hudak from the Sentinel. Doctor, we kind of had a little exchange about this before the press conference, but as Mayor, I keep saying Sheriff, Mayor Deming said, these are promising numbers. They could be good news. But have we done enough testing? Do we have enough data to say this, yes, is a clear downward trend and a signal that we may have already peaked?
So this is the way that I look at this table. Yes, we peak. And I think we mentioned maybe 2 weeks ago that we could be peaking, and we will know when we peak, when we were on our way down. Because that's the only way that you can look at this data is retrospectively. You can foresee it. You have to look backwards. So, yes, it is good news. There's no question that it's good news. And I think this is a result of many factors. And 3 of those factors are it was a timing issue also. The parks and the attractions closed really early in the pandemic, when we were in the pandemic here, because we were running like 2 or 3 weeks behind other places. So California was really advanced. Miami and South Florida in general was experiencing a larger number of cases. New York was really on fire. So we were a little bit behind that curve. We have been cautious about this because, as you have probably read in the press and TV, many places have more than one curve, peaks. I have multiple peaks. So we didn't want to engage in any false promising news until we have really good news. Now that we have 4 sustained weeks of negative growth, we can certainly say that all the steps, closing of the parks, all the restrictions that were put in place by our mayors, and the collaboration is critical. The way that the people in Orange County have responded to those steps have shown here easily. You can see that when those measures were started, 2 weeks after, we have a peak, a week and 2 weeks after those measures were put in place, and then you immediately, 2 weeks after, see the decline in the number of cases. So it's clear the fact that those measures have an impact. Also add to that coincidentally, our schools were closing for a spring break. So the schools were closed that first week, and then wisely though, the Board of Education decided to extend that exclusion from the school now to make it permanent. And that may also have a great impact. Although children are not as affected as adults, they are part of a household coming in and back. And they may be more asymptomatic carriers than symptomatic, but it's that connection between the community and the school environment where you have hundreds of people enclosed in a very small space. So I think all of that has contributed to where we are today.
The one thing that I would add with what Dr. Pino just talked about, the fact that our theme parks shut down early, that was a pivotal moment as well to help, I think, stop the spread not only here, but you've heard me say before, but perhaps across America as well. And so those are all positive things, but now our effort is really focused on preventing a resurgence of the virus in our community. And you heard me talk earlier about the consumer confidence that we have to build back up to help our citizens understand how to re-engage. And when businesses reopen, they will reopen with a whole new set of sanitary protocols in place. And I think all of that will be designed to reduce the probability that we'll have another surge of the virus in our community. We want to keep it flat like it is now. And that's why we will continue to need the assistance from our residents to do the things that we are suggesting after great consultation with our healthcare experts. Okay. Other questions?
This question comes from Kelsey Third with West 2 News. What is Orange County's authority if Governor DeSantis chooses to reopen the economy in Florida? Does Orange County have the authority to slow the reopen if you want to? For example, extending the stay-at-home order locally.
Again, I think we're having great conversation and communication with the state in this regard. There are several members of the governor's task force who come from this area. And so we are not working at odds at this point with one another. So I don't foresee that as a reality where what we're doing will be contrary to what the state is doing, et cetera. I believe that you will see some consistency there. That is my desire as the Orange County mayor, is to make sure that we see consistency not just within our county, but across the region. So earlier today we had weekly conference call with the other county chairs from Lake, Osceola, and Seminole County, where we again want to make certain that we're consistent because that is our labor market. So in terms of the challenge about whose authority trumps whose authority, I don't believe that we will see anything coming out of the state's recommendation that would diminish the counties or the local communities' authorities to deal with its own uniqueness as a particular county.
This next one is directed to you, Mayor Demings, from Ryan Lynch with the Orlando Business Journal. He goes, on CARES funding, what kind of potential programs do you see coming from the CARES funding? Could that include direct stimulus payments to small businesses?
The $243 million that we received in relief funding pursuant to the CARES Act does offer some guidance in how those funds can be expended. We're impaneling a technical committee to review the guidelines and make recommendations. A portion of the funds, I believe, can be used to assist small businesses. What that means, we still need to kind of work out the details of that, and it could be used for various other things as well. And so that would be the work of that technical committee to work across the public sectors and get some input on how we will expend those dollars within our community.
I have a couple more. These are now directed to Dr. Pino. This first one's from Alexa Lorenzo with WFTV. She goes, can you ask Dr. Pino what advice he would give to someone who heard what Trump had to say about experimenting with disinfectants?
I don't know what the president said, so I will not be able to comment on that.
The next one's from Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. Dr. Pino, the UK's chief medical advisor is saying they'll need to observe social distancing until the end of the year or even beyond. Given your observations of the virus's behavior, do you see us needing to do that?
So I think that our mayors have talked about a new normal, and we don't know how that's going to look. But some type of social distancing is probably necessary until we have a vaccine. How that's going to get implemented, I think things are going to relax. But it also depends on the type of business, the number of people, the space. But some distancing will be necessary. There is no question, especially if we have numerous outbreaks.
And this is the last one I have from Ingrid Cotto in the El Sentinel. She would like you to answer in Spanish and, of course, in English. With the testing site arriving at 32822 and 32824 next week, are you concerned of any pockets of data missing, cases underreported, or asymptomatic residents when we are so close to reopening?
Yes, that's always a concern in any pandemic, not in this one. You always, what keeps you at night is what you don't know, and being surprised by an outbreak. As long as we know that it's happening and we have the ability to detect it, we will have the ability to intervene. And part of what happened here at the beginning is that we didn't have a sophisticated test that could detect, or even at the beginning, the number of tests that we needed. Not that we have all that we need yet, but we are in better shape than we were 3-4 weeks ago. The issue becomes how fast can we intervene, how fast can we sustain those efforts, and our ability to test when we are doing trace investigation. So we haven't been able to do that because first, the wide community distribution, you have to assume that everyone is positive, and that's how you prevent this, and it has worked. You assume that everyone is positive, you protect yourself. Now our next step is that step precisely, and I described it earlier, and it's about detecting small outbreaks and containing it rather quick. En español. La pregunta fue que si me preocupa en cuanto estamos en el proceso de comenzar a abrir el condado, la posibilidad de que existan grupos de personas que están asintomáticos. Y eso es lo que nos mantiene despiertos durante la noche, que haya alguien que no sabemos y que pueda transmitirlo a un grupo número de personas. Una fábrica, un centro de trabajo, un salón de belleza, un supermercado, una tienda en la esquina, en la cual la gente... Y es importante, pero yo creo que estamos en una mejor posición ahora que la distribución en la comunidad ha disminuido. Podemos enfocarnos en lo que estaba diciendo anteriormente, y es en detectar esos pequeños pockets de la enfermedad y a tener la habilidad de tratar a esas personas y de contener la propagación.
Okay, I don't know about you, but it sounded like the Spanish version was shorter than the English version. Okay, are there any further questions? If not, let me just say, I may have said earlier that hurricane season starts in a week. It's actually a month, about a month away from now, June the 1st. And if we don't have any other questions, we'll conclude for the general press event, and we'll move to the Spanish-speaking version at this point. Okay, so thank you all for being here. I'm going to ask my special assistant, Ms. Ilia Torres, to come forward. And of course, we're joined by Orange County Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero. If you would like to come forward, you can please come forward and join us. If we find that we get stuck in any place, either one of them will be able to jump in and answer the questions, I know, thoroughly. Okay, so do we have any questions? Well, let's do this. I'll start. I'll review some of what I said earlier, and I'm going to ask Ms. Ilia Torres to translate what I said verbatim. Okay. First, let me just remind everyone, we've gone through a fairly challenging week once again as we are responding to the coronavirus in our community.
Hemos enfrentado, ¿verdad?, otra semana adicional difícil a medida que seguimos debatiendo y enfrentando el virus COVID-19 o coronavirus.
It is important that we prepare our community for the future, in particular hurricane season that will begin in about a month.
Es importante que dejemos saber a nuestros residentes y que preparemos a nuestros residentes para la temporada de huracanes que se aproxima en el próximo mes.
My goal is to make sure when Orange County reopens, it will be as smart and safe as possible.
Mi meta es que cuando podamos reabrir o reanudar las operaciones comerciales, lo hagamos de la manera más segura y sensata posible.
Florida now has over 30,000 cases and over 1,000 deaths from the virus.
En el estado de la Florida tenemos sobre 30,000 casos positivos y 1,000 muertes relacionadas al virus.
Orange County now has 1,286 positive cases of coronavirus and 29 individuals who have died from the illness.
En el condado de Orange tenemos 1,286 casos y 29 muertes relacionadas al coronavirus.
We are increasing the number of testing sites throughout Orange County, and to date have tested over 20,000 individuals.
Hemos incrementado la disponibilidad de los centros de detección de pruebas y a la fecha hemos realizado 20,000 pruebas de detección de COVID.
We are experiencing a decline in the number of new cases each week.
Hemos estado experimentando una reducción en el número de casos semana tras semana.
Momentarily, we'll ask Dr. Pino to come forward and share the flattening information with you in Spanish.
En unos minutos invitaremos al Dr. Pino a que nos comparte información sobre el aplanamiento de la curva.
As we prepare for the reopening, my goal is to ensure that there is an intersection of being safe and feeling safe before businesses open.
A medida que nos preparamos para reanudar las operaciones comerciales en el condado, quiero asegurarme de que hay una intersección entre sentirse seguro y estar seguro de que podemos reanudar las operaciones.
Next week, we'll be opening locations, new testing locations in West Orange Park, Apopka High School, Camping World Stadium, Barnett Park, and J. Blanchard Park.
En la semana que viene estaremos operando nuevos centros móviles de prueba en West Orange Park, Apopka High School, Camping World Stadium, Barnett Park, and J. Blanchard Park.
And we know that there's a demand for testing in the 32824 zip code and the 32822 zip codes, and we're working with the Department of Health to do additional testing in those locations next week.
Reconocemos la necesidad de realizar pruebas en el código postal 32822 y 32824, por lo que estamos trabajando con el Departamento de Salud para implementar centros de prueba en estas áreas.
A bit of good news, Orange County government has received $243 million as a local allocation through the Coronavirus Relief Fund that was included in the CARES Act.
Un poco de buenas noticias, el condado de Orange ha recibido 243 millones en un fondo federal proveniente de la ley CARES Act.
A technical committee is being formed to evaluate eligible expenditures and provide recommendations to the Board of County Commission.
Se ha establecido un comité técnico que evaluará la medida en que podemos utilizar estos fondos y presentará esas recomendaciones a la Junta de Comisionados del Condado de Orange.
And I'm going to ask again Dr. Pino to come forward and share additional details in Spanish with you.
Buenas tardes. Tengo el gusto de hablar con ustedes y compartir algunas buenas noticias y algunos datos. En el condado hasta hoy tenemos 1,286 personas que han sido positivas y esto les quiero explicar es acumulativo. Quiere decir desde el primer caso hasta hoy en la mañana. Tenemos un % de positivos, que eso quiere decir el número de casos, el % de casos que regresan positivos con respecto al número de personas que le hemos hecho la prueba, y ese % está en 6% de todas las pruebas que regresan positivas y ha continuado disminuyendo. El momento que estuvimos más alto estuvo en 11% y en estos momentos estamos en 6%. El miércoles cuando hablamos con ustedes estábamos en 7%. Esa medida también está disminuyendo. Hemos tenido 29 muertes. Y la última de esas, y nuestras oraciones están con su familia, es una persona masculina, no conocemos mucho de los detalles todavía, que tenía 93 años de edad y tenía condiciones preexistentes de salud. También en las noticias positivas que estamos compartiendo hoy, entre las pruebas que hicimos el lunes y el martes, que fueron un total de 378 pruebas, solamente regresaron 4 negativas. Y sabemos que 3 de esos eran personas que ya estaban diagnosticadas, que decidieron hacerse la prueba por segunda vez. Y en realidad una sola persona positiva en esos 2 días, lo cual es bien interesante y alentador. Para la semana que viene vamos a continuar en el mobile testing y les pedimos por favor que si se quieren hacer la prueba, llamen al número 407-723-5004. Citas son necesarias para hacerse la prueba. El lunes estaremos en West Orange Park. Deberíamos haber estado allí hoy, pero por la situación del clima decidimos cancelar. Estaremos allí el lunes. El martes estaremos en Apopka High School. Todos los latinos que viven en Apopka, por favor, vengan a hacerse la prueba. Estamos yendo allí porque nos han dicho que hay una concentración alta de trabajadores inmigrantes y agricultura en esa área y queremos que todos ustedes, por favor, vengan a hacerse la prueba. El miércoles 29 estaremos en el Camping World Stadium y para toda la gente que vive alrededor del área, vengan a hacerse la prueba el jueves en Barnett Park y el viernes en J. Blanchard Park. Dependiendo de las necesidades, de las orientaciones que recibamos del alcalde y si tenemos los suministros necesarios, continuaremos haciendo pruebas tanto como sea necesario en esos lugares. También quiero compartir con ustedes la curva epidemiológica que está allí para la que la puedan ver y sepan que, como habíamos dicho anteriormente, ya tuvimos uno de los picos famosos que se dicen. No sabemos si vamos a tener alguno más, por eso tenemos que ser muy cuidadosos en mantener las medidas que tenemos puestas en estos momentos y abrir el condado gradualmente y vigilar cómo la base de datos se comporta y saber cómo estas situaciones van mejorando. El esfuerzo ahora va a estar concentrado en detectar los casos bien temprano y tener la habilidad de responder, hacer pruebas y tratar a las personas antes que haya transmisión en escala mayor. Con eso, si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, muchas gracias.
At this time, I'm going to ask Orange County Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero to come forward and to share some words with you as well.
Claro que sí. Gracias, alcalde. Gracias por esta oportunidad que nos da, ¿verdad?, de poder hablar en español. Y quiero decirle a toda la prensa americana y a la prensa hispana, que estamos bien contentos que nos estén dando esta oportunidad. Me disculpan el miércoles que no hablé, pero aquí estoy, va a haber Maribel para rato. Le doy gracias a Ilia, que está haciendo tremendo trabajo, traduciendo toda la información que trae, ¿verdad?, el alcalde y lo que dijo doctor Pino. Y lo que quiero decirle ahora, mi gente, es: no bajen la guardia, ¿ok? No porque los números están así quiere decir que estamos bien. No bajen la guardia. Necesitamos que se sigan poniendo su máscara y que sigan, ¿verdad?, haciendo todo lo que tienen que hacer con la distancia social y todo, porque es importante que nos cuidemos. Y una de las cosas que él dijo, que yo sé que ya me han preguntado, entramos en junio primero en la sesión o en el season de huracanes. Eso también se va a preparar el alcalde y vamos a preparar, ¿verdad?, la comunidad y todo, pero una cosita a la vez. No se me, ¿verdad?, no se me pongan ansiosos, pero estamos aquí para servirles lo que usted necesite. Aquí estamos todos trabajando unidos para el bienestar de ustedes. Y lo que no quiero dejar de decirles es lo que él dijo y lo que están diciendo. ¿Para qué tener una finanza saludable si el pueblo no está saludable? Me gusta lo que él dice: el pueblo saludable trae finanzas saludables. Dios me los bendiga y por favor cuídense. Gracias.
Gracias, Commissioner. Do we have any questions in Spanish?
These are for Commissioner Maribel Gomez Cordero from Ingrid Coto in El Sentinel. What steps will your office take towards applying funds from the $243 million residential rent and business assistance to Hispanic Orange County residents?
Ella lo que está preguntando es que qué medidas o qué pasos va a tomar el Distrito 4 con relación a los $243 millones que están asignados para el pueblo. Bueno, ahora mismo me entero de los 243 que fueron aprobados y nosotros vamos a trabajar, a hacer un proyecto para ver cómo podemos ayudar. Y sí, lo que ella dice, las viviendas es algo bien importante, las rentas, recibo todas las llamadas, vamos a trabajar duro para poderlos ayudar y poder, ¿verdad?, servir al pueblo mejor.
And one more for Dr. Pina, from Ingrid Coto as well from El Sentinel. Immigrants are one of the hardest populations to reach when it comes to testing. Will the mobile site require IDs or health insurance?
No, the only requirement... en español. Es que la pregunta fue en inglés. The question was in English. So, it's hard to... the switch sometimes doesn't happen. And people at home knows that. It's just... en español. La pregunta en español fue que cuáles son los requerimientos para hacerse la prueba, si hace falta identidad, si hace falta seguro. No estamos requiriendo, y gracias por la pregunta, no estamos requiriendo documentación de ningún tipo, no estamos verificando absolutamente nada. Lo único que pedimos es que sean mayores de 18 años. La situación está en que los menores requieren el consentimiento del padre o de la madre. Y entonces tendríamos que verificar que la persona que está dando el consentimiento sea el padre o la madre. Y eso crearía demasiada distracción en el proceso para poder mover la gente rápido. Y además de eso, los niños no son afectados de la misma manera que los adultos. Entonces, por eso tomamos esas decisiones.
Was that it for the questions? Okay, we'll conclude the press event today. So, muchas gracias, mi amigos, and hasta mañana.
Hasta mañana. Muchas gracias. Good job.